Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the OCVarsity Gridiron Show, Week 8 edition. And Steve, Week 8 means there's only 3 weeks left in the regular season. It's the third round of league for most teams. We're going to
Yep.
talk about one league finally getting to play, and that's the Alpha League. But
hmm
the real story, Steve, is that you are 30 and 10 on your picks this year, putting me just putting me away early. It seems like, yeah, 5 game lead on me. How are you enjoying this hot stretch you're on?
I'm sure there's somebody out there who can do better than me out there. Sometimes you get an email or something on Twitter says, "Oh man, gosh, you should have gone 5-0 or something like that." I go, "Well, you go ahead and pick." And they go, "Ah, no, no."
30 and 10, very good record. I am 25 and 15. And hey, we invite everybody to participate.
Sure.
When we post this on X, please put your picks. We have Taryn Rodriguez of Sunset Rewind, among other duties for Taryn. He plays along with us. Post your picks.
I
Have
think
fun with
he's.
us.
I think Terrence's beaten us.
He probably is beating me. I would say I'm
I
coming
think
off
he's ahead of me.
2 and 3, but I've had some narrow losses, including a team we're going to talk about uh, in a moment's away here with
Sure.
Lahab. But let's get into exciting, really good week 8. This is an excellent week.
Yeah.
There's several games we're not talking about today that could have easily been part of this preview show, and hopefully we'll talk about them later in the season. So let's start on Thursday. Got an early showdown, Delta League. How about Tustin, 6-1, 2-0 in the Delta League at El Medina, 7-0, 2-0 in the Delta League. So this one has got some star power, Steve, where you got Tustin's all-county running back. Esses is already rushed for over 1,000 yards on the season, coming off 182
Yep.
last week against Tribuco with 2 touchdowns. He's got 1,007 yards rushing. El Medina comes back, of course, with Xavier Guest, their senior quarterback. Esses is a senior as well, so some very savvy football players. Guest has already thrown for 1,700 yards, 22 touchdowns, and he's the El Medina rushing leader with 850 yards. So you got some speed, a dual threat quarterback, and Xavier Guess, and Tustin, according to Vanguard's coach Matt Mitchell, is kind of resembling those old Tustin teams of power football with their big offensive line and running game. Who do you got in this one, Steve?
Man, I went back and forth on this one, thinking about it all day and
Yes.
yesterday too. Sam Baker's got running a really good offensive line uh, over there at Tustin High. Great offensive line coach. Great coaches at Elmo too. Um, all things being sort of equal, got to go with the throwing game potential of El Medina with Smith on the outside and Xavier Guest, Connor Smith, and Xavier Guest going the football. Brady Hitchens gives him a good power running attack too, also a good defensive player. This one's going to be a trenches game, and
Yes.
it's going to be really. They're both really outstanding, but I think the passing game of El Medina is going to help them, and that's why I'm going with the Vanguards.
Yes. I'm also picking El Medina, though I have a lot of respect for the athletes and the linemen on Tustin's side. I think they have some guys in the secondary that maybe will be trying to maybe catch Xavier
Right.
Guess. But I think you're right about, how what level does Xavier get to is running? Is he getting into that secondary? Is he getting to the linebacker level? How are they doing? How is El Medina doing blocking in the trenches? Because that could be a big part of the game.
Yes, sir.
So, but a great game to start out the week of week 8. I think, and we both agree that Elmo's the winner. Can't forget about Capo Valley in the Delta League. They're also 2-0, very much in the mix. Believe it, next week it's El Medina and Capo Valley in the Delta. So this thing is not over yet. As great as a showdown this is, can't forget about Capo Valley.
True.
All right. So great game to start it out. And just to show you the quality of week 8. So we go on Friday, October 18th. Hey, let's go to the Epsilon League. So you got Crean Lutheran, 6-1, 2-0 atop the Epsilon League at La Habra, 6-1, 2-0. So
Yeah.
this is for first place in the Epsilon League. Nobody's hotter right now in Orange County, really, than the Highlanders. They've won 6 straight, coming off a great rally last week against La Habra, the against Huntington Beach, excuse me.
Yeah.
So the Highlanders were down at halftime 28-13, down 15 points at halftime at Huntington Beach on the road, and they come back. And the Highlanders, wow, did they run the ball? I don't know if I saw that they would run for 368 yards as a team against Huntington Beach. That's a lot of yards. Sophomore running back Martinez had a huge game. And then you just throw in the dual threat combination of Salcido and Mitchell at quarterback. That's how you get to 368 yards. They ran for 5 touchdowns. But Crean Lutheran, they're physical. Got some good linebackers and defensive linemen that can maybe contend with this ground attack of the Highlanders. Guys like you got defensive tackle Tyler Parker, Anthony Jones on the edge, Carter Jones at linebacker, not related, is a very good run-stopping linebacker. And Crean Lutheran's physical. I saw them, play physical against San Juan Hills earlier in this year when they suffered their one loss. Tough game to call, I think, in the Epsilon. Who's your pick, Steve?
I'm going La Habra. Hot team staying hot. Really like their physicality. I haven't seen Crean Lutheran play yet, but I've seen La Habra, and I was impressed by that group a great deal. If they can do that ball control thing that they're so good at, keep moving the chains, I think La Habra's going to win it, Dan.
Yeah. One thing that's been important for Crean Lutheran this last couple of weeks, speaking of that San Juan Hills game, when they lost their quarterback, Caden Jones, that's Carter Jones's brother, sophomore starting quarterback. They've went to a freshman who's played really well. Dylan D. Epsifano has played very well in picking up the slack. That's a big injury for Crean Lutheran, losing a dual threat like Caden Jones. He would have been in the mix there with guys like DJ Mitchell and Kenny Salcido.
Yeah.
He hasn't played the last couple of weeks, so I'm not sure what his status is. But I like this Crean Lutheran team. I know at one point we were wondering, we kind of had them higher ranked. They were maybe on the cusp of the top 10 if they could have beaten San Juan Hills earlier in the season. They kind of dropped back, but they've in the rankings, but they have kept up their play. I say all that. I'm still going with La Habra. I learned my lesson last week. I'm not going to pick against them 2 weeks in a row. But we'll see how they respond after a dramatic comeback victory. Sometimes
now, what we just did, you and I did?
Yes.
We picked against the rankings.
Yeah, I think La Habra winning 6 in a row is signaling something different. I think about like a team that had a great comeback and a great segue, but I'm not trying to brag, but another team that had a great comeback at halftime that really sparked them into another victory, taking a card from the La Habra playbook. That's Newport Harbor. They were down 17 points, I think, at halftime against Tesoro. And they come back and won their Bravo League opener. And then last week, the Sailors, they won the Battle of the Bay against Corona Del Mar for the second straight year. So now Newport, one of the best stories going in OC football, right, Steve? They started 0-4. Now they're atop the Bravo League with San Juan Hills, who in their own impressive fashion last week defeated Yorba Linda. First official loss for the previously undefeated Mustangs. So this is a great game because Newport is coming on hot. They've turned to Jake Neer, a junior quarterback who's 3-0 as a starter. And they're playing physical. They're getting some great two-way play. This guy looked really good to me. Cade Fiegel plays receiver, cornerback. He's a guy to watch. He's also on special teams. Very fast playmaker. And then, hey, you saw San Juan Hills last week and how impressive they were. I just see a lot of balance and execution from them where, with Timmy Herb at quarterback, Elijah Ayala at running back. They got good D-line, got good linebackers led by Weston Port, UCLA commit. They got a good secondary. They're just a solid team. They run it, they pass it. Seems like they maybe use their passing game to set up these short runs for touchdowns. Who do you got in this game, which is, for first place in the Bravo League?
I was very impressed by San Juan Hills. Really good backfield, defensive backfield. Grant Kitteridge had a big game. The linebacking group of Western Port and Tanner Rohan, really fantastic. Big time front line dudes all over the place.
Yeah.
Uh, Coach Fritz's son, Luke, he's a first down machine.
Receiver.
I think
Yeah.
he must have had 7 catches for first downs right at the sticks and then turns and gets another 2 yards. Really good. So I like San Juan Hills in this game. I was really impressed with how well they played against Yorba Linda last week, both offensively and defensively. So I'm going with the Stallions. Ride
Yeah.
for the brand.
I am also picking San Juan Hills. They have a lot of momentum, but they
Yeah.
got to take Newport Harbor seriously because Newport Harbor is
Yep.
starting to believe. They just beat the Battle of the Bay. They
Yeah.
rallied against Tesoro, and they're talking about league championships there. And Coach Coach Matt is doing Burns is doing a great job at Newport Harbor in his first season, and they're really rallying together. So this is going to be, I think Newport's got a little bit more confidence coming into this game. Both those Stremic guys are playing well at Newport Harbor as
Yep.
well.
Sammy.
All right, let's keep it rolling. Let's go to Trinity League. Let's go back to SoFi Stadium coming up on Friday, the Brotherhood Bowl in the Trinity League. I think this one's interesting, and it is interesting if you look at the Cal Prep projections as well. Servite 6-1, 1-1 in the Trinity League after they lost to Mater Dei last week.
Yep.
Now they're going to SoFi Stadium, taking on Bosco, which is 7-0, 2-0. Now, but the Braves are working hard, and they're sweating for that 7-0, but they still got it, and you got to give them credit. With Coach Negro, there's Trinity League opener. They rallied big time to get Orange Lutheran 28-24.
Yep.
There was 4 lead changes in the fourth quarter alone. They had to sweat that one out. Last week against Santa Margarita, which doesn't have Trent Mosley, doesn't have their coach Anthony Rousier, but that game was 0-0. Santa Margarita and Bosco. Bosco finds a way, 13-0. Now here comes Servite, which they lost 28-6 to Mater Dei. They were outgained pretty one-sided, but
Yeah.
they still got a great offensive line. They still got Quade Carr that runs well. They got some key injuries, which make them kind of one-dimensional. You talked to Coach Reinhardt, hey, what do you feel about, being a little bit one-dimensional? You're running the ball a ton, only throwing it 6 times, 7 times to beat Jay Sarah. How do you think that could go against a higher ranked team like Mater Dei? And he simply says, hey, we're doing what we have to do to win games. What gives us the best chance to win is running guys like Quade Carr and running behind our big offensive line.
Yeah.
And they're going to try to bully guys and keep offenses off the field. Who do you got in this one in the Brotherhood Bowl, SoFi Stadium?
Yeah. That young quarterback, that freshman kid, you've seen him play over at
Yes.
Bosco, Koa Malaulu.
Yes.
Fantastic game after game. I can't look at his score, his stats, and jeepers. The guy's playing great. And Bosco's very young, but they're winning football games, beating good teams all throughout, playing the usual tough sked.
Yeah.
Servite, you probably gotta throw the ball to beat Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, Orange Lutheran. So I think that Bosco is going to win this game. It's going to be very interesting. Now Servite can do it. They control the clock, get a couple turnovers, shorten the field for themselves.
Yeah.
They don't have to run they don't have to work hard for 30 carries or something like that. But Gavin Gutierrez is a really good number 2 back over there at Servite. Really, really fast, good power guy too. Really nice. But I got Bosco, Dan. It's the logical pick.
Yeah. And one thing you mentioned, Koa, good mention of that, is interesting development just today came out of St. John Bosco is that the kid who started most of the games this year, the only game he didn't start was the Orange Lutheran game and the Trinity League opener, but
Yep.
Monte Fuava, he reportedly has checked out of St. John Bosco and is headed to Hawaii to play for none other than Kahuku, that plays a bunch of Southern California teams. So now more than ever, or actually for the first time now, really it seems like it's Koa's ship to run. But you can't, speaking of freshmen, you can't watch, you got to remember these Servite freshmen. I've been very impressed with guys like Caleb Iava at safety, had some big hits against Mater Dei, number 34. He's a player. Elijah Mueller, 55, playing offensive tackle. He looks good.
Yeah.
And Alan Canet at quarterback, dual threat, very physical for a freshman, kind of working on his, throwing a little bit, but he runs some quarterback option pretty good. Not
Yeah.
easy to tackle. He moves the chains. He's a big kid out as a freshman. And oh, by the way, the Servite freshmen are 7-0, but I am still picking St. John Bosco in this Brotherhood Bowl.
Yep. I was looking at the Max Preps roster of St. John Bosco, and the young man who transferred, he's not he's not on the roster anymore. So yeah, I guess he did leave.
That's pretty quick movement.
Yeah.
Is Monday afternoon. He
and
just played on Friday against Santa
yeah,
Margarita.
yeah, and I
Started.
imagine he's moving to Hawaii too, because that daily commute to Honolulu from Southern California, that's tough, expensive too.
That's a tough one. I don't think the Trinity League schools have got that covered as far as off. I don't think that's available for travel. And I think he'll be okay to make it a valid change of residence on that
Yeah,
one.
it probably work out.
I'm not sure of the Hawaii rules, to be honest, but I think we'll see him up again because Kahuku plays a lot of teams in Orange County, a lot
Yeah,
of Trinity League teams too.
yeah.
And
Play Mater Dei, etc. Yeah, they like coming out this way.
yeah,
There's no
I think
Disneyland in Hawaii. Got to come here.
there's a lot of other attractions in there though.
There
All
are
right.
the
Hey, we talked about it at the beginning. Alpha League starts finally. The number one rated public school league in the Orange County Conference. Also home to the reigning South Coast League champion, San Clemente. Can't forget about that last year.
Yep.
Uh, and Mission Viejo, they're 7-0. They're highly ranked in nationally. These teams collide in the Alpha League opener. That's a pretty darn good opener. Now, like I said, we also could have talked about, another good opener. How about Los Al Edison? That's a great Alpha League opener as well. We could have easily picked that one, and I'm sure we'll be talking maybe some Edison and Los Al winner in the future as they hook up in some big Alpha League games. But this one's interesting because San Clemente kind of got my attention even more last week. 51-0, Steve, against Coronado of Nevada. That was the number 4 ranked team in Nevada. Of course, we know Bishop Gorman's number 1, but they were number 4, and they had only lost a close game to Arborview before this, and they played well against, I think they were the number 2 team out of Nevada. But that got my attention. San Clemente does have Jack Ferguson back, and I think with they're pairing him with Dawson Martinez at quarterback. Pretty good combination. They're a little bit different. I think Dawson has improved his passing throughout the year, but he's a good runner as well. Ferguson, maybe more of a pocket guy, but a nice combination there. We know San Clemente's got some DBs, and they've been known to play some good defense. Played a maybe a tougher schedule than maybe some people thought, because one of the teams they lost to, Torrey Pines, they're undefeated as well. So they're playing it. And then, of course, the Tritons at home, they usually play well. And Diablos undefeated. Speaking of teams that are 7-0, but and the Diablos have played at SoFi already. They're coming off the bye. Interesting. Diablos coming off the bye. San Clemente played last week. And then speaking of quarterback duos, you got Luke Fahey, the junior. He's throwing for over 900 yards and 10 TDs. And then Drayden Trudeau, senior, he's thrown for over 900 yards, 13 TDs.
Yep.
One interception between these two guys. Mission's very balanced, as you know. They got running backs. They got receivers. They got the number 1 sack leader in the whole entire country, and Jaden Williams playing defensive end with 20 sacks, 32 tackles for loss. I mean, San Clemente, they're facing a lot. But like I said, I set it up by saying you got to take the Tritons seriously. Maybe
Sure.
found something last week. I don't know. Who do you got in this one, Steve?
San Clemente is pretty good at beating Mission Viejo when you don't think the one town, one team Tritons are gonna beat Mission Viejo,
That's
but they do it. But this Mission Viejo team is right up there with some of the great Mission teams of the past. Some of those great Bob Johnson coach groups over there. Man, I really like Mission Viejo. They're going to go 10-0, man, and go into the playoffs. the only team that I see that's better than them is Mater Dei. I haven't seen Bosco yet, though, of course. And it's how you play the day you play, Dan, right? But Mission, man, they could, and because they lost St. Clemente last year, they're going to be fired up. It's not going to take a lot of pregame talk from Coach Chad Johnson or anybody else in Diablo Land to get those boys fired up to play this game. They're gonna come out and attack and go for it and woof it up. Mission Viejo is going to win.
Yeah, I'm sure San Clemente will be fired up too.
Heck yeah.
Playing on their home field.
Great play too. Love Thalassa Stadium.
Yes, it's
You're
one of
going
the
to
best.
be there.
Yes,
the
it's one of the
Pom
best.
Cafe, the student section with the smoke and the lights and the music and all the craziness. It is a great place to. I'm starting to sound like Lee Corso or Dick Vitale, but
Yes.
I love going to that place, baby. It's such a place. Look at these kids over here.
I'll be thinking about how we watched Sam Darnold play against Trabuco Hills back in the day in a CIF final. I think it was, or it was a semifinal. I'll have to look up at Trabuco Hills. It was Trabuco and San Clemente. I think it was at San Clemente. And then I've seen Mission go down there and play really well under Coach Johnson. Most times they did very well down there, but Coach Ortiz has been able to change that the last couple years.
Great Ortiz.
Yep, they've risen up and had some success. Last year they won at Mission, and they beat the Diablos a couple times, I believe, down in San Clemente. So, but I'm picking the Diablos, and I'm with you. I'm very high on Mission. I think they match up well with the team we just talked about in St. John Bosco, because I think Mission's got the defensive backs to hang with those great Bosco's receivers. So they got that. I think they have the pressure to put on a freshman quarterback. And I think they got the offense to score on just about anybody. The offense is not a problem when you got Van Spafford, two running backs, that quarterback duo. So this could be a very special team. So can't forget about San Clemente. We'll see. They made Division I last year. Maybe they're in Division II this year and maybe primed for a big time run when they come out of this. But they got to go through, the Alpha League's a bit of a gauntlet. It's a short gauntlet, 3 games. But, when you have, this group of teams, Edison, Los Al, Mission, San Clemente, it's going to be physical games. We'll see who comes out of it. Maybe as the number 2. You've got to remember how many automatic berths are coming out of the Alpha League. Only 2 automatic berths. Every game is big. But are the other teams looking like they got, some pretty good chances? Obviously, San Clemente, they're 4-3. They like to be 500. So for the Tritons, if they lose this week, they drop to 4-4, and they look, hey, we got 2 games, got to win 1 of 2 to get to 500. I think that's what the scenario is for San Clemente. If that's going to get them, they could get the at-large or they could get the automatic. But that's a couple scenarios that they want to be. They want to be second, but worst case scenario, they want to be 500.
I went on a Twitter Spaces thing late Friday night, parked in some dark parking lot someplace, and we talked about it's going to be. You think it's going to be 8 teams again in Division I? Now, Tarek Fatal, who's really smart, he thought maybe they go back to 16 teams in Division I. Because other than Mater Dei, the rest of them are a little bit grouped together, and the 16-team bracket might be kind of cool. But if they go 8 again, then I think you got 2 Orange County teams that go into that 8-team group, maybe 3. Okay, Mater Dei, Bosco, Mater Dei, Mission Viejo, maybe Olu goes, and so you're going to have a bunch of teams going to Division II. And some of them are going to be right at or a little below, are going to have to get in at large. The bottom 2 teams in that Alpha League, Edison, San Clemente, Los Al, maybe all 3 of those teams go into Division II as at large teams. Servite, J. Sarah, whatever, Margarita, also looking for at large berths, perhaps. that's a lot of teams looking for a large burst in Division Two, Dan. There's going to be one or two really good teams that aren't going to get into the playoffs out of our Orange County boys.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if Division One was 16 teams, because I think the concept that the Southern section has taken as far as Division One. Hey, look at who you have in your Division One. You have the number one and number two ranked teams in the country.
Mm-hmm.
It's elite. Make Division One smaller, 8 teams.
Right.
Make it 10 teams if they really can get a couple playing games. Okay,
12
then
buys.
let's get an exciting possible next best group, Division Two, where there's a ton of excitement. Last year, look what Mission Viejo, they were the runners up in the South Coast League, won Division Two. How about San Clemente this year? They're the runners up in the Alpha League, let's say, or maybe it's Edison. Let those guys get a chance to win Division Two. That's exciting.
Yeah.
So I would say
large bursts in there. If there's a lot of automatic qualifiers, there's going to be a lot very good at large teams shut out, large candidates.
Yep. And the thing is about they'll be playoff eligible. Teams like Orange Lutheran, they've got their 5 wins. Servite's got their 5 wins. They got 6.
Yep.
Olu's got 5. J. Sarah's got 5. Those are teams that are going to be at least 500. They should be in Division One, in my opinion. The one team you're going to have to watch about in the Trinity League, where's Santa Margarita? They're not looking like they're going to be 500. So you wonder what's going to happen with the Eagles. If they are playoff bound or not, going to be
where is that Cal Preps cutoff for the top 8 teams?
Yeah, I don't have it at the top of my head right now.
I'll tell you.
Okay.
I'll tell you. Thanks for everybody hanging out while we dither on here. Is dither a good word? I don't even know. All right. So here's the top 8 teams in the Cal Preps rankings, which is what everybody's going to look at. Modern Day, Bosco, Mission, that's 3. Centennial, that's 4. Olu, that's 5. Servite's at number 6 in this thing. Then J. Sarah, then Margarita. There's 8 teams right there. And then you go down a little way. So I don't know. Sarah Gardena, Division 2. Ooh, they'd be tough to play. Inglewood, we know about them. They smack root, I think, Villa Park. Chaparral, Los Al, San Juan Hills. Quite a group. Well,
that top 8 would be that's a good top 8 as far as I think as much as possible putting the Trinity League teams together is what they belong to, and you do that by making all the Trinity League teams play in a condensed Division One, in my opinion, and don't expand it, and try to make that Division One is with those elite teams should be playing the elite, in my opinion.
6 of those top 8 teams are Trinity League teams.
Yep.
The outliers being Centennial of Corona and Mission Viejo of Mission Viejo.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Santa Margarita, they have a win against Centennial, but they're quite a bit under 500 now, and I don't know if the Eagles are going to come in at like 3 and 7, or 4 and 6. But we'll see what happens. But we're a couple weeks away. But I like the direction you're thinking, Steve. You're thinking about the playoffs. That's what everybody's on their mind. That's what's exciting about league play. You're starting to look at these spots. You gotta find your way to the playoffs, and we're just about a month away. But some big games in week 8, and we agreed on every single game, Steve.
You ain't catching up.
So I didn't. I thought that the one was definitely gonna trip us up. Maybe was Crean Lutheran.
Yeah, I agree.
Habra.
There's too much, especially playing in their ballpark.
Yep. So some great games. So everybody enjoy it. Thanks for supporting our show. And so for Steve Fryer, I'm Dan Albano. And thanks for watching us here on OCVarsity Gridiron Show.